All right, it is 3 on the dot. I expect that we start seeing people slowly trickling into the session. Welcome, everybody. Let's see who's joining already. We had from the past, we have Adnija, Anthony, Gerardo, Lisa, Arister, Miriam, Mitun, Rosa. Very nice. Already people are starting to join. Welcome, all of you who are quite punctual. We are very happy to see that you are all here. Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us today and joining us on time, because we know that not everybody is as punctual as all of you. We are going to wait for 2 minutes before we officially start the webinar. However, we have prepared 2 questions for all of us to slightly warm up for the session and get to know you and your organization a little bit better. So keep in mind that if none of the options that are shown as answered reflect what you want to say, you can simply just take to the chat and write your response there. And I see we already have the first question up, which is, where do you see the biggest impact of L&D in your organization? Option A, employee retention. Option B, employee engagement. Option C, improving productivity and performance. And option D, employee satisfaction. We already have some results. Very interesting. So options C and D are winning as of yet, improving productivity and performance and employee satisfaction. And the second question is also up, I see. They were too quick for me, or I was too slow for them. The second question is, do you use coaching in your organization? And if yes, what is your goal? Option A is developing leaders. Option B is supporting a transformation process. Option C is career development. And option D is increasing resilience and well-being. All right, so as the votes start to come in, the percentages have changed. So now we have a clear winner, or a clearer winner for question 1. The biggest impact of L&D in organizations is apparently C, improving productivity and performance. And in terms of coaching and which goals you pursue with coaching in your organization, developing leader is a clear winner, and career development is also high up there. Very, very interesting answers. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And also thank you, everybody, for joining. I see that also we have some new guests or some new attendees. Welcome, Jonas. Welcome, Julia, Karin. Ralitza is there as well. Scott, Sebastian. Very nice. All right. So we all know that time is pressing and we want to get started as soon as possible. So before we do, I want to thank you very much for your responses. It's great to see so much engagement with L&D amongst all of you and so much engagement with us for this webinar. Now that we've allowed enough time for everybody to join, let's jump right in and officially start this Sharpist webinar. So welcome to today's session, everyone. We're very happy that you're joining us today. My name is Juan Salazar, and I lead the content team here at Sharpist. I will be your host for today's webinar, which is titled Designing Goal-Driven L&D Strategies Through Coaching and Microlearning. In the session, we're going to give you an overview of the methods and the tools that we use to support organizations in creating effective L&D strategies. So to this effect, we brought in 2 of our great customers, Aviv Group and ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, who will be sharing their thought leadership on several L&D topics with us, and they will help us tell this story through very short case studies. So here is a quick look at today's agenda before we go into a round of introductions. First, we're going to be talking about the purpose of L&D at Aviv Group and at ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems. Afterwards, we're going to get right down to business and discuss our sharpest method of L&D strategy building. And finally, we're going to be looking ahead and sharing our vision for the future of L&D. As you see, we're going to have a dedicated session for a Q&A. So we're going to have 5 minutes at the end of the session to answer your questions. I really highly encourage all of you to use the chat function throughout the webinar, and please share your questions there. We will try to answer them as they come up, but please have some understanding that some of them will have to be left for the end of the session. So without further ado, let's start with introductions. I would like to start with you, Sarah. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thanks for that. Hi all, I'm Sarah. I'm working now since I think more than 7 years for Axel Springer, and Axel Springer is also the investor together with KKR for the Aviv Group. To most of you, you probably don't know us yet. So the Aviv Group is the classifieds business for real estate of the Axel Springer company. We are trying to, I think as a lot of companies in the real estate, we are trying to build the journey of being one of the European online real estate marketplaces. Currently, our brands you probably know in Germany are Immowelt. Then we have brands in France, which is Groupe Sologer and Mayen-Jean. And then it's also the Immoweb in Belgium, Housel in Spain. And then we have Yad Stein also in Israel. So a mixture of especially European companies. And I'm working with Aviv now since I think a little bit more than a year. First, we organized 1 year our structure, how we want to go into that transformation to building that also European company together. And since February, I'm in lead for talent management, and also since this month in lead for people at Immowelt. I'm originally based in Berlin. But today I'm in Nuremberg at our Immowelt offices. And yeah, looking forward to the discussion. I hope you have a lot of questions. Let's use this as a dialogue. I'm happy to answer everything you may want to ask me. And with that, I'm handing over back.
It's wonderful to have you, Sarah. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Next up is Mr. Ingo Giese. The stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me here and joining this, for sure, very interesting session from my perspective. With a very actual and impactful topic from my perspective. Yeah, I'm Ingo. I'm heading here in a branch from ThyssenKrupp. Maybe you know ThyssenKrupp as one of the oldest and biggest steel companies, not only in Europe or in Germany, over the world. I'm especially in the branch which is dealing with naval shipbuilding. So it's called marine systems. Means that we're designing and building gray ships, not the white ones, not the beautiful cruise ships or so. So really, it's naval business. Means we designing and building submarines, as non-nuclear submarines, which are state of the art. We're market leader for non-nuclear submarines in the world. As well, the surface vessels. So we make as well frigates, corvettes, whatever you can build lower than, I think, an aircraft carrier. It's as well available through us. Not only in Germany, in Europe, all over the world. So we have a long history in naval shipbuilding, so for decades now. So we're located more or less with a focus on the northern part of Germany, but as well with bigger sites in UK. And as well in Brazil at the moment. So entirely we have 6,500 people working with us at the moment. As you know, imagine to the current security landscape in the world, our business is growing very rapidly because our naval customers are very keen to get more products in a shorter time frame at the moment due to the significant change and impact of the situation in Ukraine at the moment. And I'm heading the recruiting area, people development, and vocational training for all of those guys working with us. Yeah. So I think handing over now to Juan or to Bene.
Why not? Let's do it right away. Honored to have you here today, Ingo. And last but not least, our very own Benedikt Faber. It's your time to shine, Bene. Go ahead.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Juan. Yeah, I'm actually super excited and grateful to be sitting here in this panel together with Ingo and Sarah today. And for me, it's actually a real pleasure to be working with these two because it's always fun to be working with people who also have a vision and are actually thinking forward in their field of expertise. So thanks for far and foremost for being here. My name is Benedikt. I've been working for Sharpist for 3 years now. So in startup terms, almost a veteran, I would say. And yeah, Sharpist is the leading platform for personalized leadership development at scale, powered by coaching. And we help to transform organizations through this personalized leadership development to get to the next level. And yeah, I'm personally also very excited to be here, because I've seen what leadership development can actually do for organizations and what it can do when it's goal oriented. And I've personally also been in touch with coaching for longer than 3 years. And now I'm here obviously to discuss how we don't just transform people through coaching and through personalized leadership development, but also how we can actually achieve organizational goals on a larger scale through coaching. So yeah, looking forward to speak with you, Sarah and Ingo.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here today. Let's get this session started with our first question to you, Sarah and Ingo. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so everybody is nice and visible there. And let's get right away. Let's get to it. I would like to know from both of you, what is the purpose of L&D in your organization, and where do you see its biggest impact? Let's start with Sarah, with Aviv.
Okay, thanks. Happy to start with that. So I think for me, or why also for us, it's so important to talk about learning and development. It's really our objective that we want to enable our employees, and we want to actively support them in their daily doing, but also more above that, to really fulfill their potential, so that they also can create with us together Aviv learning strategies. So our purpose is doing the learning journeys with them together, so they can strive also more for growth. And I think for me, the biggest impact is also, from my perspective, if we find a way to use our company purpose, the strategic pillars we have, and also the behaviors. What is our belief? What is our culture? What are our ambitions behind? And using that as a fundament together to go into discussions with our employees and asking, okay, how can we support you to build that journeys together, linked on the culture, but also on the business ambitions? I think that needs to come together. And also then from that perspective, the purpose of helping them to get the skill, knowledge, and to enable them to be the ambassadors for the company. So that's, I think, where I see the biggest impact in linking the business strategy together with what people want from us and what they need to be developed in a better way. That's for me. So I'm handing over to Ingo. Maybe you have something to add, yes. Or I don't know if any questions in the chat. So
I think it's thank you, Sarah, because it's can easily pick it up, because it's very close to what you said. I think it's nothing without people at the end. You can have the best strategies, the best technical approach in a business case, but it's nothing without people. And so my team and myself define ourselves with our proposed outcome and purpose. So we say, okay, we make strategy and really the business case happen in the best possible way. So that's why we need to have the best methods and tools in place. We have to support the development journey along the development of the company strategy and business case as best as we can, because the people need to realize the entirely paperwork around the strategy and the technical business case. So nothing, it's not, you will get no design of a new submarine, you will not, can't produce it, you can do nothing without the people who are working here. And so our purpose here to make this all happen in a real analog world without having those digital impact and so on. But we are working with people, and we take care about the best skilled and hopefully highly motivated and committed people to make a strategy and the business case happen as good as we can. And it's supported by as we are a high-tech industry, so really, it's really leading edge technology in our area. So it needs as well having leading edge technology and supportive framework for the people who are working here. So that's our purpose, and that there we can create the biggest impact.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and to jump in, maybe I think what I like, because I asked maybe you as listeners, I think for us as a role is rather to give also the frameworks and to give also the maybe the help to how to bring behaviors, or what do you have, leadership understanding, depending how your company works, but into understanding to go in dialogue with the employees and to support them with. So I think we are rather a support function giving frameworks, but I think what shifted is we are not HR telling the business what skills they need. The business needs to tell us what they need, and we are more working in closely together. So I think that switched it over the last years. It will be not successful just giving them, I don't know, plenty of learnings without understanding what is the business purpose behind.
Yeah. So maybe to add here, because for me it's very important. So I think an L&D department always needs to be very close to the business and sometimes ahead of the business. That have a good understanding of the market and the entire business case, because we need time to create solutions and to implement them. Then they have to fulfill their work in practice. So we need to always be very close and ahead of the business, a better business understanding, because it needs time to develop and create solutions. Otherwise, you are behind the business, and the solutions are then coming late. So it's directly what Sarah said. It's creating solutions, building the best framework to make the people working as good as they can in their business case.
What I would also like to add to that is, because, and that's I think also what I like so much in our previous conversations, is that I had the feeling that you are not just thinking in terms of, it's important to understand what the business needs, but also thinking about learning and development as a way to drive the business and to inform the business about things that are going on, and how to maybe even how to adjust the strategy slightly if you if you really understand what matters for your workforce and why, what drives them, and what might be actually next topics to focus on, and then actually informing the business and driving it, I think is where I could at least feel a difference in terms of how you approach it.
And in terms of driving the business and kind of bringing it down to a more detailed level, because we talked about purpose and we talked about supporting many different business functions, uniting strategy with execution, strategy with culture. Based on all of that, what kinds of specific goals do you try to reach with L&D?
Maybe Ingo, this time you go first. So that's always me. So I'm not easier for you, and I can say the same.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Sarah. So at the moment, it's really the clear focus is on retaining and recruiting people. Why does it be connected to, or why is it connected to leadership and specifically and L&D? Because I think from my perspective, it's very important to understand how leadership works and what kind of impact it creates on the development of people. Because I think people leave in terms of bad leadership and will join you if they learn inspirational leaders in the recruiting process. And that's why we are focusing absolutely in those two areas, because as we are in a very high speed growing business, at the moment we have an order backlog of 15 billion and is consistently growing each single day. So that means that we have to keep everybody on board and to inspire new people to work for us. And that's why leadership in L&D is so important, because not money makes a difference in retaining people and recruiting people. So this is basic understanding, having a good income and so on, but really providing the best possible way to develop for people internally or externally who want to join us is absolutely key to run our business. And that's why L&D is having such a great impact and a significant impact on a company's business case. Because as I said at the beginning, it's nothing without people. If you can't retain them, you can't keep the knowledge. And we need a lot of deep knowledge in our business, because we are making one of the most technical complex products in the world. A submarine is much more complex to develop and to produce than like an airplane or like a wonderful car at Porsche or wherever. So our products are one of the most technical complex systems as you can build and create. And that's where L&D is so important. So keep the knowledge, keep the people motivated, and providing the people best possible way to develop as long the technical story is developing, because technology is developing each single day. And we need to keep the business and make the people aware of what is changing, prepare them for the upcoming changes in terms of technology and framework. And there we are. And we need methods and tools like Sharpist, for example, who are clearly following this speed. The people in marine systems are experiencing each single day. So we need solutions as digital coaching, micro learning, to keep up the speed in the business. And the speed is really consistently growing each single day.
So in a nutshell, retention and recruitment through L&D, wonderful. And Sarah, how about you and Aviv?
Yeah, I think for us, because at the moment we're also going into that European approach. So we are structuring, going from very silo local companies into one global company together. So I think on the one hand, it's definitely part of recruiting, but also for me, it's a lot about engagement as well. So on the one hand, it's that we really need to enable the leaders, especially in the current situation, in the changes we have, but also we need to hold them accountable for also their own behavior, their understanding. So for us, it's more the job also to have discussions, to have debates, and to using like coaching approaches or other approaches to discuss that with them together. And then also for us, L&D sits with talent management, which means it's a mixture between the clear training skills and also the skills of understanding. But on the other hand, it is about performance. It is about also how we retain, what is our internal succession planning looking like, and how we can link that together. Do we have career paths? Do we have a skill matrix? How can we link also that together? And in the end, how do you give feedback? How to give feedback to your employees? So for us, it's much more. It's a bigger thing. That's why I'm talking about engagement. I think it's a mixture between, it's definitely not only the salary, but it's a part of it. But we need to understand how we can do retention on a structured way to support the leaders to be able to give feedback, and also to understand what kind of development does my employee need, or how can I support them. It's not only offering a bunch of trainings. So that's very important for me.
So we've heard, but first of all, thank you both so much for the very thorough answers. So we've heard a lot of different goals, and very different ones, like retaining talent, developing talent, recruiting, developing leaders through uncertain times. All of these, so that speaks for the wide array of effect and impact that L&D can have in an organization. And I know that you, Bene, and Huram, our CPO, have helped a lot of organizations shape their strategies to serve all of these different goals through strategy workshops. So I would first ask you to tell us a bit more about why these workshops are valuable and what they consist of.
Yeah, so I think, and I mean, this is also the feeling that I'm getting when I'm, listening to Ingo and Sarah, is what you notice immediately is like there is, I mean, it's not surprising, it's very different industries, but the needs are also very different, and the approach is very different. I mean, partly due to, just organizational history and how everything was developed, but also partly due to who are actually the people that are working at these companies. It's a completely different profile. And so for us, and I think that's, I think that touches up on also, what I think should always be the role of learning and development is, to contextualize the entire learning offering, and, not create, just different offerings and then tell the leader here, take a little bit of coaching, or here, take a little bit of e-learning. I think we've all seen that is not working. But it's about connecting it to business goals, connecting it, with each other, so that it's more like, so that it's also not here as a Sharpist experience, but that this is an Aviv experience composed of different elements, or it's a ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems experience. And the way we went about it, and like for us, it's also, a standard approach. is that we basically get together, we take some time together, and we explore together, very open. Okay, what are actually all the needs that you're having? And we're not starting with a solution level, but we're starting with the needs level, right? And we talk about, yeah, if you look at this setup of a workshop, we talk about what are actually your organizational goals first, because everything like HR goals and learning and development goals, everything needs to tie into that, right? So we go through the different levels. And then we actually dive into learning and development, and we kind of dissect, all the different needs, and then break down, are these needs being addressed? Who is driving these needs? And we also prioritize these needs. And then only after that, we get into a stage of, okay, what would be the best way to address these needs? Yes, also from a Sharpist perspective, but also, what are other offerings that we want to be combined with, so that we create this powerful, contextualized experience.
To jump in, Benedict, because we are building at the moment the L&D and also talent management, as I told, on a more global approach. But I think for me, really important, I could have come in on February and saying, look, we are just having an LMS, a learning platform, just bringing everything into, it's fine, everyone get access to it, everyone has then access to learning. But I think that's one approach. But the other thing is, what I would recommend everyone is trying to find a more approach where you embed and involve also the employees and asking them what they need. It was the same with Sharpist. Do you need like a leadership program? Do you have the time for it? Or do you want more individualized coaching approach? What you need at the current status? Because maybe your business is not in a status where you can have like a huge leadership program at the moment. So it's depending where you are on your journey and what also the priorities, also for your business leaders, but also for your employees. And then using all that content, if you understood the why, I think then you can decide, is it the platform or is it the training approach, or what is it that makes us successful together?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a super interesting point, Sarah, and that really ties in well together with something that I actually wanted to ask you and Ingo, because we talked about L&D strategy and setting up programs, using different types of interventions and methods to kind of reach goals and in the end give the right tools to the right people. But you brought up the very interesting point of who are the right people? Where is the most impact going to be realized in the organization through L&D? So the question is, how do you identify and measure who would benefit the most from people development or from the L&D interventions that you're rolling out? And how do you reach them too? How do you engage with them? Ingo,
Sarah, should I start? Or what do we
Go first.
Thanks. Yeah, so we have a very clear path here since 2 years now. We are running in each single area of the company a very structured diagnostic program as a management audit from the L-1 to the CEO. So starting with the head of engineering down to the group leaders in engineering. Last year, at the moment, we are running this management audit in the CFO resource, in procurement, IT, in the controlling area. So we make development centers with each single guy or girl who's in a leadership position. So we are trying to get in touch with them and to understand them from an L&D perspective. What is the point where when they can pick them up in terms of leadership and development needs? So we're investing more or less a half a day as well an online diagnostic via Skype with the support of a consulting company and a clear development center structure. I think all of you know this kind of tools. And then we start to create together with the people the individualized and customized development journey. And when we feel the most of we have 3 observers in that area, and when we come to the point, okay, what could help the people to go the next steps and take the next steps, then we oftenly then come to the point that Sharpist will be helpful. So we were running in the past a lot of very structured programs with a lot of presence, trainings and presence. And we said, okay, this is not what the people really need. They need a customized, focused, and on-demand support because the business is created in that way. Yeah, so they can't blocking time for 3 days to go into a seminar hotel and learning, get off the running business and so. So that's why we said, okay, we understand your position where we are, and we not only come from the content, so we perspective what you need to learn, so we come as well from the perspective how to learn. Yeah, and Sharpist fundamentally changed the way how people are coached. So in a very customized and focused and flexible way, and that's why we combined in a structured process. So getting in touch with the people, with the development center, understanding their personally with their needs, and then directly addressing the development needs. And as well, we are focusing and then following that up in regular stages with the people itself and their managers.
Thank you, Ingo. I hope, well, thank you so much for such a thorough answer, because I think that might help answer a question that we had in the chat, actually, from Shweta. Well, she actually asked 3 questions. How would you address the effectiveness of learning journeys of different learning interventions, and how to approach, and what approaches do you look at? How do you see technology impacting behavior-based training? And what is your take on individual development plans and approach on it? So let us know if that helped you a little bit, Shweta. And how about you, Sarah? How do you identify who would benefit?
I'm happy also to go into that, because I think especially the third part, what is your take on individual development plans? I think that's crucial. So I don't want to repeat myself. But for us, so we are not that deep in the diagnostic yet, but I really like also the approach. So I think it's very valuable as well if you have that, either to different feedback tools you can have, or also to understand where is the organization, especially also on a leadership level. But for us, I think for me at the moment, it's rather that I look to approach where we need to have a kind of career path. I think it's depending where you are and how big you are with the company, but that you are clear, okay, where can I develop into? Because that's most of the questions people have. And also having clear what skills are important to grow the business. That are more the basics. If you have that, for me, it's that you need to have individual development conversations. You need to train the leaders how to do that, how to be not biased in it, how to understand also development, and not just doing a short conversation, okay, let's do a training. So I think for us, it's rather having beginning of the year is structured conversation, but also measuring that like you would do with probably business OKRs, or with everything on performance you have. It's the same on feedback. Have check-ins, and also in best case, having a tool who supports you with that to check in, okay, where we are, looking, not only looking back, more looking forward. How can I support you to go forward? And then for me, I think that's then where you measure that, and where you see also step by step if it's useful or not. And I'm also, as I said, I think the technical skills for deep product tech skills, especially for a tech company, that should sit with the function and the business. I would not mess that I could tell what product and tech should do. I'm happy to be the consultant and to be advisor, but I think for me, these skills are very important, handled by the business. For the soft skills, it's another thing. That's something where we need to have offers that are accessible for everyone on the one hand, but on the other hand, it needs to be customized. And depending on which level, on which budget, I think we all have these questions. We need to make sure that even if we're just having a platform creating the learning journeys, that makes sense and that are connected to that. So that's it. So the how-to for me, it's one thing. And the other thing, everyone needs to ask, I think, themselves, what kind of learning culture, it's an easy word, but do you want to have? Because most of employees are asking, okay, but when should I do that? On a Sunday, on a weekend? Do you give time for learning? Do you give space for learning? Do you give the tools for learning? So, and that's a little bit more the individual question everyone needs to discuss and find out. Also to say, okay, how much space do we have? And I think all decisions and discussions are really valuable and needed to give then also the when can I do that?
And I think all of these elements that you mentioned, Sarah, really speak to how you can engage the individual learner also at scale. And we at Sharpist
maybe Juan, maybe only one thing to add here. I think it's only a minor thing, but maybe an important one. So where the how-to is very important. So we talk about customization, individualization, absolutely, but we need to have a baseline, with a baseline understanding how what kind of leadership do we want to see? Yeah, how should a leadership style look? From the baseline perspective, what do we expect from leaders? So we need a baseline, a customized baseline approach, to tell it that way. So and that's why you need a technical support, to giving micro learnings for people to inspire them. Okay, that's how it can look like, but find your own way. So a baseline that you can structure and give the people to provide them a good idea how it should look like, and then starting with a customized coaching approach. And that's why we decided to go for with Sharpist that way, because we feel that here the balance is very professionally organized. So you have to go, you can start, okay, we want to have them this micro learning, this micro and this minor learning to set the baseline, and then addressing the specific individual and customized things then via the coaching approach. And I think this is a major challenge, and from an organizational perspective, how we can align that to create a common leadership understanding, but an authentic approach for each single leader at the end. So that's one I want to add.
No, actually, thank you so much for sharing that, Ingo, because that's also one of the topics that we wanted to discuss with all of you. That's really hitting the nail on the head, because that is really reminding us of the project that we actually started with Aviv Group, with your transformation process that you're going through, or implementing a new set of leadership behaviors. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Sarah?
So as I said, we are building at the moment also a little bit how we go forward with the whole global learning and development. But for us, it was quite clear that in that transformation we are in, which is also heavy transformation, is I think quite stressful. It's a lot of change. And this means, especially for leaders, from our perspective, that they need to first set up the teams, landing the teams, need to be visible, need to understand also different cultures, because they are going into, from I'm a leader for Germany, going into different countries. So it's just a switch where we thought, okay, look, let's start with that on the one hand, and then we have our company behaviors, and that is our leadership understanding. But we anyhow don't want to have just trainings on that. We just want to have, as I said, a dialogue, and we want to have the individual coaching approach as well. And because they need to address their issues with the transformation, or maybe what they need to discuss. So that's why we find it an individual approach, but also linking that a little bit with some kind of understanding to activate and to live it in the daily life, and hopefully then to be ambassadors for that. So it was a little bit to be able to support the transformation with a rather individual approach, not forgetting the business purpose behind why we are doing that since a year.
Yeah, I can actually show a quick example, Bene, before we pass the mic on to you. Sorry to interrupt you, but we can actually have a visual right here of what it looks like, one of such a learning journeys that Sarah was describing, because that's also for us the beauty of the whole thing. So we created the 6-month learning journey to kick off this transformation process that Aviv is going through, starting with the leaders. And I think that the real added value here is that the learning journey happens in parallel to the coaching. As Ingo mentioned, as Sarah mentioned, this allows the leaders to revisit what they learn and to talk about their questions and thoughts with their coach. So taking the overall approach, the overall values, where are they headed, but really taking it into their own personal needs and context. And that's the beauty of coaching in the end, being able to form a trusting relationship with your coach, where you can drive self-discovery, drive self-awareness, and through these sessions, provide a learning environment that is fully tailored to the context and needs of the learners. So back to you, Bene. What did you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, I think, and that's why I also thought this is an exciting project, is because the role that these managers actually have is highly complex, right? Because they are change ambassadors of a change they are impacted by, right? So they have to inform people of, how to, what their role is in this change, but they are affected by it themselves. So it's highly complex what, emotions they have, the underlying fears that they have, and needs that they have, and then putting that into relation of the organizational goals. I honestly wouldn't know how to do that other than with having somebody that supports me and that, you know, is like personally looking at my, you know, underlying needs and so forth. Otherwise, I'm alone in this journey. So I thought this was pretty cool. But I also thought, and yeah, maybe Juan, you can also pull up sort of this, you know, how we then look at actually measuring this, because the truth is also, and I think everybody that works in this space, they're like, yeah, you know, people are the most important thing of a company, you know, they're driving the business. But I think management also still needs to be educated. So I personally feel like if also HR and L&D, they want to become a strategic driver of the business, they also need to be informed about what's actually going on in the organization. So I'm actually glad that we are now at a point where we can, you know, where we can also inform the strategy, you know, by looking at, and what you're seeing here is the HR dashboard, the Sharpist HR dashboard. And what we've done for Aviv, for instance, is we've mapped our focus area framework, which you can see here exactly. We've mapped the Aviv behaviors, which are essential for getting to this new organization, mapped them to our leadership framework. And now we can, this is the leadership framework, right? 32 focus areas. And now we can go into the dashboard now that we've mapped it, and we haven't just built a learning journey on top of it, but we've also, we are also able to say now, okay, for instance, the Aviv behavior, simplify, you know, how much is it represented in this target group, and how far are they in reaching their personal goals? And thereby we can clearly say how mature is the transformation, and how does it also compare to other organizations. And if we look, for instance, at ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, we could compare, for instance, you know, production and engineering, right? And we could say, you know, maybe they complain about the same things, but comparing the cohorts, we see they're actually working on different things. And if you have these kind of insights, that's when you become a strategist, and when you can say, okay, business, we have to speak a common leadership language if we want to be able to address these challenges, and then we can start building solutions that are even more focused, even more fitting for the specific target group.
Yeah, I think
this is so important. This is so important to get those insight informations prepared in a good and quickly assessed manner, because it's a lot of information you need to have to make the right decisions as well in an L&D department. Otherwise, maybe you're building or offering solutions nobody needs. And that's it. You really know to need where you are, how you want to, where you want to be, and how then you can design the development journey. Otherwise, without these informations, we are doing generic L&D stuff, and that's not appropriate to create a high valuable business.
It's probably not going to work anyway, too, if it's not personalized, and that's the approach. I would like to stop right here because we have only 3 minutes left on the clock. And I would like to open the stage then for some questions from the audience, if there are any. So everybody who's attending and who's been listening and following, please, this is your time to shine. This is your time to ask your question. I will give a couple of seconds for people to write them. And if there aren't any, maybe you can finish your thought, Sarah, or I could ask you a final question so we can leave everybody with some food for thought.
Yeah, just very quickly, because I think it's very valuable to have the dashboard and to have an understanding of the micro task, and is the engagement, is it the right tool we are using? That was also technique helps to get behaviors, but for me it's clear that all the conversations, the coaching in general, the approach, that's totally confidential. So just to make sure it's a really it's you can see the overall, but I think make sure that you find also around coaching a very trustful environment where they don't have the feeling that HR is checking on you, because we had that discussions. That was the questions to us. So
me too. Yeah.
So that's something where you need to be very clear on the principles you have and what is the role as HR within such a process.
Thank you, Sarah. And I would say now that we have only 1 minute left, we can take a final question or we'll make a final question for both of you, for whoever still has time and wants to stick around. It's obviously fine if you can't, if you have to jump to the next meeting. Thank you for joining us. You will also receive the recording via email after it's done, so you can check out the last final part of the session that you couldn't attend.
Scott, you had there's one question in it. I'm not sure if we not have the time. Otherwise, I think we are free, Ingo and myself. You can also add us on LinkedIn and then we can answer that question to you. Yeah. Or we do it now, depending. But there's one question in the
All right, in the Q&A. I see. So Scott asked, how has your specific approach to coaching evolved as your overall view of L&D has evolved? Who would you like to answer this question, Scott?
Happy to jump in, and Ingo, you can jump in as well. So I think if you start such a program, you're quite clear how you want to do that and very structured and behaviors, and then you're coming to the point of Benedict and I where you see no, they want to have a little bit more space. They don't want to have it too structured. I think the balance between structured, not structured was one thing between that, and seeing now that I think we started with that, so I can't tell you how it will develop over the next times, but we will have peer-to-peer learnings in between to understand that, and having also questionnaires if the behaviors are helpful or not, and maybe also changing that afterwards. So that's, and on the other hand, it's our L&D approach, I think, is more questioning ourselves what we want to achieve, what is our objective, and not just starting with a program. So I don't know if that's enough, and maybe Ingo, you jump in.
Yeah, I think it goes in the same direction, like Sarah said. I think what is our view on that here from my team and myself? I think it's we need to balance it out, like Sarah said. Yeah. So because it's using Sharpist and making coaching, and using coaching and microlearning is not the only methodological offer from the L&D department. There are a lot of additional methods and tools you can bring in, and you have to bring in methods and tools like mentoring approach, as well as an additional individual approach for developing people in this area. But you have all of these answers, and to build the right package to frame it for everybody on a personal way. So I think the major challenge is to bring those. I think over the last couple of years or decades, coaching was only for the big guys in the management team because it's so expensive, and this coaching only reserved for this population. I think we have to think it's completely rethink it, like Sharpist does. We need to bring this kind of methods to everybody in the organization, and to offer these solutions to everybody, from the top guy, the CEO, down to the shop floor and the production or in the sales teams, wherever. So we need to find ways, methods and tools and processes to bring this with a common idea, and as I said, with a customized and personalized approach. So therefore, you need a very good technical platform and approach, because it has to fit as well to some L&D budgets, to be honest. Yeah. But this approach works, and I think more people should have the benefits from it. And this is what my team and myself really want to achieve with those kind of technological support in terms of digitalization, as well in L&D, because that's exactly the day-to-day framework what our people experience, in engineering and production and so on. So we have to reflect that and to provide them a logical framework what they experience in their normal business and as well in learning. Maybe this answers or was the question in addition?
I think it does. And in the end, it's a wonderful message that surely from Sharpist side, we can also get behind more coaching for everybody everywhere. That's exactly what we want to do. So thank you very much for that, Ingo. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to you, Bennett, but we have now to close the session. However, Rosa has a final question. Maybe it's one that Bennett can take. Do you have any issues with employees who receive coaching but don't speak English? How do you handle the micro tasks with them? Well, maybe that's a question for me, seeing as that's related to my team. Well, I mean, we don't have employees that don't receive coaching in English, but at least with micro tasks, we do offer them in several languages, and it really depends on what the learner is able to do and what the coach is also able to provide, because our coaches also speak several languages, so it's a case by case approach, I would say. I don't know if either Ingo or the ThyssenKrupp or Aviv has had issues with that or some trouble in being able to provide content in different languages.
No, that was absolutely working. At the moment, we are offering only that for our German and English-speaking colleagues. I think the next stage, which needs to be discussed then between you and us, I want to connect as well our Brazilian site in Itajaí, and there maybe the English level is not on the best stage. So we need somebody who's able to provide micro learning and as well coaching on Portuguese in the future.
That should be no issue. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll speak to that, because especially if we're doing these development journeys where we're also customizing microtasks, we've done that frequently in the past, that we also translated them to French, to Spanish, or to other sort of more common languages. Because obviously for some target groups, it's helpful to have this in English, in their native language. But what we noticed, I think, is most important is that the coaching is in the native language, because that's the space of trust. And that's where, when you speak a native tongue, I think everybody knows that, you feel more at ease and you feel more confident.
Yes,
and I think that's sort of, yeah, for us, why this is where we promise always coaching in native language.
All right, now I do have to close the session. We've been 6 minutes over time, but that's all right. It's been really a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Bene. Thank you so much, Ingo. Thank you so much, Sarah. You've given us great insights, surely plenty of food for thought. And also thank you to everybody who attended the session. As I mentioned before, you're going to get the recording via email. And also, as we wrote down in the chat, we are very happy to talk to you about any people development needs that you have. We have several coaching packages and a unique approach. So take the link that is in the chat and schedule a call with us. So again, thank you all so much and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thanks
You
to
too.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.